As I was preparing for today's Juneteenth gathering, I found myself returning to the words of Frederick Douglass. Many of us know his famous question asked in 1852: "What to the American slave is your 4th of July?" When Douglass spoke those words, slavery was still legal. Yet what struck me was not how distant his words felt, but how familiar they sound now. Douglass understood something about America that every generation of Black Americans eventually learns for itself. He understood that our nation is far better at celebrating freedom than practicing it. He understood that America poses a remarkable ability to praise liberty in the abstract while resisting the hard work required to make liberty real for everyone. And that was the heart of his criticism. He looked at a nation celebrating freedom while millions remained enslaved, and he called it what it was: hypocrisy. Now, before anyone becomes defensive, let me be clear. I'm not comparing contemporary America to slavery. History matters. Progress matters. Civil rights movement mattered. The Voting Rights Act mattered. Let me repeat that. The Voting Rights Act mattered. The sacrifices of countless Americans of every race who struggled to make this country more just and equitable absolutely mattered. I know they mattered because my own life was transformed by those victories. I belong to a generation of Black Americans that grew up believing the arc of history was bending toward justice. Do you remember that? We believed in Martin Luther King's fantasy while we put a pin in Malcolm X's reality. We were the children of parents who had survived segregation and Jim Crow. We watched barriers fall. We walked boldly through doors that sprang open. We entered into professions our grandparents never imagined we could enter. We voted under protections our ancestors never possessed. We believed that while the journey was unfinished, our country was moving in the right direction. And yet, here we are. Today, many of the legal protections that emerged from the civil rights era are being gleefully dismantled. Voting rights protections have been hollowed out. Diversity initiatives are under attack. The language of equity has become politically suspect. And once again, we hear people celebrating America as a land of equal opportunity while simultaneously removing many of the tools designed to help us move closer to that ideal. The contradiction would not have surprised Frederick Douglass, because Douglass understood that America's greatest struggle has never been whether it could speak the language of freedom. America speaks that language beautifully. The question has always been whether we are willing to live up to it. If the ideal set forth in the Constitution, written by Age of Enlightenment idealists, can withstand the onslaught of supremacy. Juneteenth is not simply a celebration of emancipation. It is a reminder that freedom once won can be neglected. Rights once secured can be weakened. Progress once achieved can be reversed. And memory itself can become a battleground. Those of us gathered here today are old enough to remember what life was like before many of the victories we now see in the rearview mirror. We remember separate realities. We remember exclusion. We remember the harm of casual humiliations that were just simply part of daily life. We remember what it took to move this country forward. And that memory places a responsibility on us. It's not a responsibility to despair, not a responsibility to accuse, but a responsibility to tell the damned truth. As regards to that responsibility, an inviolable truth of America that Douglass would recognize today is this: America has often abandoned discriminatory methods only after inventing newer ones that appear more neutral while producing similar results. And so today, I invite you into our living room, into all the living rooms of black folks you know but never joined for dinner at their house. And this is not an invitation to a debate, not an ideological argument. Come into our living room where we tell a truth you may not be prepared to listen to hear what black elders have seen, to hear what we remember, to hear what gives us hope, and to hear what gives us concern. Because Juneteenth is not only about where we've been, it is now also about where we're going again.